Free to go.
Ready? Ready? Okay, good afternoon. Welcome to this meeting of the Deep Creek Watershed Board of Zoning Appeals for the 15th day of August 2024. At this time, we request that you please turn off all your cellular devices. We have a quorum today, so at this point I will call the meeting to order. I am your board chairman, Bruce Swift. To my right is zoning administrator Bruce Metz. To my left is board members Bill Ingram, Bob Hoffman, and Mike Beard. We are your Deep Creek Watershed Zoning Board of Appeals. We are appointed by the county commissioners and serve at their pleasure. The purpose of this board is to provide competent interpretation and full equitable application of the Deep Creek Watershed Zoning Ordinance. Gentlemen, at this time, you should have received a copy of the minutes from last meeting. I trust you reviewed them, and if there's no revisions or corrections, I'll ask for a motion to approve.
Make a motion to approve.
Second?
Second.
So moved. Minutes are approved. We had three cases today. One has withdrawn, so now we are down to two. This is a quasi-judicial proceeding. All board decisions are based on the provisions outlined in the zoning ordinance. We have two different types of cases this afternoon. We have a variance and a special exception. Each has its own unique requirements, and the board respectively requests that anyone intending to offer testimony this afternoon be familiar with those requirements and limit their testimony to only information relevant to their respective cases as outlined in the ordinance. Any persons intending to offer testimony will be sworn in. While this board will make every effort to come to a final decision this afternoon, the board has up to 10 days to render its decision if needed. Decisions by this board can be appealed to the Circuit Court of Garrett County for a period of 30 days from the date of the board's decision. For the benefit of those in attendance as well as those watching online, we request that you step up to the microphone before beginning your testimony. Bruce, would you like to read our first application?
First application today is variance VR 842, submitted by Michael Cart for a variance to allow the construction of a single-family residence to within 7 feet of the side property lines. The property is located at 19976 Garrett Highway, tax map 58. Parcel 261, grid 16, and is zoned town center. And I believe Karen Myers is here to present that case.
Any letters in favor or opposition?
We have a letter of in favor from Creekside Condominium Owners Association, and it is stating that if the application is requesting 3-inch reduction on the setback on each side, they have no qualms about that. You might note that in my notification letter, I always round up to the nearest foot to allow for some wiggle room, but the actual request is for 3 inches on each side of the setback, reducing it from 8 feet to 7 feet 9 inches.
Okay. Okay, Karen, would you like to step up to the microphone and present your testimony? Do you swear and affirm that the testimony that you're about to present to the Deep Creek Watershed Board of Zoning Appeals is the truth? If so, answer I do.
I do.
Your name and address for the record, please.
Karen F. Myers, 117 Pinnacle Drive, Swanton, Maryland, 21541.
Please proceed.
Okay, so we're here so that Betsy can learn, because the object is that the next generation can learn how to do this or what to do. So she approached me because she had a customer who thought they wanted to buy this particular lot, but they couldn't figure out how they could actually build a home, and they thought they needed to build a home that was at least 24 foot wide, which is typical to be able to get the stairs in and so forth. And I said, well, wait a minute, I know that we're only supposed to ask for what is actually necessary. And because I built those 3 cabins across from Bill's Marine, I pulled out the plans and those were 23 feet wide. So I said, we're gonna have to go with 23 feet, what it takes to make that happen. So with a house that is 23 feet wide and then 8-foot setbacks on either side, that's 39 feet. And that is essentially what the width is of the lot there. It's 39 point something feet. But you need a little wiggle room because it's hard for them to set foundations that exact. But the real crutch becomes the stone veneer on the exposed basement, because that's going to be at least 3 inches, on each side, and so that's where our 3 inches is, so that we don't have just an ugly concrete-looking foundation that we could cover it with stone. So that's why we are here. In order to do that, we need a few more inches other than what the property has, and really we're looking for something that's slightly less than 3 inches, but let's go with 3 inches, because I had fights with the concrete people when I was building those other cottages that I didn't need a variance for, because I couldn't get them to stay where the marks were put in by the surveyor. So I've been there. So as you know, there's certain standards for approval for a variance outlined in the zoning ordinance. Number 1, it can't be contrary to the public interest, and I don't believe that it is contrary. We're sticking with a single family home. What was there years ago was a mobile home, a single wide home that was removed, and probably the lot is so narrow because it was sold originally to be for a mobile home. The next one is practical difficulty and unnecessary hardship will result if not granted, and the practical difficulty is that there's certain minimum requirements for stairs, riser heights, tread sizes, and so forth in the building code. Spiral staircases are not typically permitted because they don't have the tread widths that would allow you to get up and down the floors without having a typical stairway. It's usually most builders think that you need at least a 24-foot wide. We accomplished it with a 23-foot wide by doing something that they called a split landing, so that as we went up, we made the turn. And as I said, the arithmetic, if you would have been at 24 feet wide, 24 plus 8 plus 8 would have been 40 feet, and that's wider than what this lot is. So we think that the aesthetics of the neighborhood will be improved with a foundation that's not just exposed masonry, but covered with a stone veneer. And those stone veneer widths will vary, but even the thinnest stone is 2.5 inches or more, typically. So I just talked about the split landing. So the unnecessary hardship is that a more expensive custom design, single wide style home will be required and would most likely require non-typical, non-traditional building materials and designs in order to fit on this very narrow lot. Another item is it must be in harmony with the general purpose and intent of the ordinance, not injurious to or alter the character of the neighborhood, will not impair views from the adjacent property or otherwise be detrimental to the public welfare. I do believe that it is in harmony with the general purpose and intent of the ordinance. It's will be new construction with new materials and then with the stone veneer on the basement, so it should be attractive. It does not interfere with any neighbor's ability to access the waters of Deep Creek Lake or any obstacle that would prevent an obstruction in their view. In fact, it's my opinion that a new residence there will be quite an improvement over the single wide mobile home that has already been removed. The next item is will not permit the establishment of any use that's not permitted in that district, and in the town center district, single family homes are a permitted use, so there should be no objection on that basis. The next item, special circumstances or conditions apply to the land or building for which the variance is sought, which circumstances or conditions are such that strict application of this chapter would deprive the applicant of reasonable use of the land or building. So the special circumstances simply are the very narrowness of the lot. It's 39.37 feet closest to the lake and 39.48 feet next to 219, both of which are less than 40 feet wide. I tried doing some deed research to determine when that lot may have been subdivided to see if I could figure out anything, but after I went back, I don't know, 5 or 6 owners, I got lost and I never could figure out exactly what it was. All of those deeds though, or when I got back far enough, they were all referring to a little bit of taking of land for when new Route 219 went through. So, well, you weren't here and the rest of you aren't old enough to remember that, but I do. And that took place with that permitting and the land transfers took place in 1955. So in 1955 and before, there were no land use controls or restrictions or regulations.
Prior to 1975.
Well, I know, but yeah, so, this is well before we had zoning, whenever this law was created. The type of residences have changed over the years. Back in 1955 or before, it was perfectly fine to put up single-wide mobile homes, and there were, I would say there was probably a plethora of those around Deep Creek Lake that over the years have been replaced. If you stuck with that very narrow single-wide look, I feel like that might do more harm to the neighborhood and their property values than in granting this variance for, like I'm saying, 3 inches or less. So we've submitted the survey to show, and I think you all have a copy, don't you? Mm-hmm. Okay, to show the 7.97, I think, so again, looking for that 3 inches on each side. There's a buy down in front, then there's a setback for a deck. I think the deck is to be 18 foot in depth, and then the house would start from there. But I wanted him to also show you that even if we had a house, I think that was 56 feet long, there's still room for 5 parking spaces there. And, I don't think they could get more than 5 bedrooms, so they would be able to meet the requirements, if necessary at some time, for TVRU or to have adequate parking. I was asked, you might guess that I had been in communication with the Creekside Condominium Association asking for that letter. And nothing is ever easy when you have 10 owners all weighing in on something, but the last question I had from the president was, well, where is this house in relation to Unit 1? And Unit 1 is the unit that is closest to where this house would be built. And the best I could come up with, I sent him a little diagram here because I had to guess a little bit of where the buy-down area was, but it seems as though it's similar in terms of relationship to the lake, that I don't think this house is going to be far forward or far back, but very similar to that. I think that's what they based their letter on, and I kind of did that too from looking at the buy-down map that was provided, so that, I mean, where Creekside was originally Lakeside Court, the motel, and they had grandfathered setbacks there. So, questions?
Karen, what can you tell us about the proposed home? Are there plans in place for it already?
There are no plans in place for it. I know that Mr. Karp, or Dr. Karp, I guess, who is the contract purchaser, didn't want to get too far into the design without knowing that he was going to be able to work within that 23 feet plus stone veneer. He does have a Zoom meeting scheduled with a designer that works with me in my office, Randy Little, tomorrow, and I have given them, or shared with them, the plans that I used for the houses, those cabins across from Bill's Marine. So I think it's going to be pretty much a story and a half, or it will look almost like a 2-story, probably, to be able to have vaulted ceiling for part of it inside, and probably 2 bedrooms or so upstairs, 1 on the main level and 1 or 2 in the basement.
I have that proposed floor plan if y'all want to. I don't have
yeah, but that was
elevation.
That's not theirs. I had just given that to them as kind of a guideline. This is what will fit.
What could work.
What will work.
Mm-hmm.
Anybody else?
No, sir. I have no questions.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else like to speak in favor of the application? Okay. Do you swear and affirm that the testimony you're about to present to the Deep Creek Watershed Board of Zoning Appeals is the truth? If so, answer I do.
I do.
State your name and address for the record, please.
Full name is Margaret Jameson. My brother and I own a house next on the north side of this property. So, and I'm here to say that we've talked about it. We don't really have any issues with it. We actually happened to meet the gentleman that is proposing to purchase it. He happened to be there and we happened to be there, so. Can you tell me, I have a question now. So how far down, where is it gonna sit in relate front and rear setbacks from the road and from the lake? Do you know?
As it's drawn, the deck shows a minimum of 5 feet from the top of the buy down, and I don't have a dimension from the road on my drawing.
What's the setback, 20 feet from the road?
What is
It's 10 feet from the road,
Because it's town center,
Okay.
and it's,
but it's way more than that.
because of the new amendments, they can be 10 feet from the rear line now, as opposed to the old 40.
Okay. So
On
10 feet from the buy down, end of the buy down, or 10 feet from the original?
10 feet from the original rear property line. Not allowed to build on the buy down at all, unless it's like a shed or whatever.
I call it top of the buy down, but.
Yeah, that property, just FYI, is flagged right now, so there are flags showing where it's going to sit on the property. I think it's very much situated the same as your house is, having just been there today, from the rear moving forward to the road.
And we can show you a survey if you want to see it.
I noticed the flag, but didn't really pay attention.
Okay,
You
yeah.
know how that is? Okay, I see.
Yeah, those
I
are
know
the-
it's
Those are the actual corners for the house, and then lakeside, the deck, going beyond. So you'll see 6 flags out there.
All right, well, as I said, both my brother and I talked about it, and we have no issues with it, so.
Okay.
Can I add just a little, prior to the mobile home, there was a tiny little cottage there that actually, because my grandfather had it, actually had a pump in the kitchen sink. That's what I remember, okay? I don't remember much else about the house, except it was really cool because it had one of those, a pump there.
Yeah.
It was just a small little cup, I think it had 2 rooms, the kitchen and space for some beds, that's it. So just FYI. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody present who would like to speak in opposition of this application? Okay, at this time, we will close the public portion of this hearing. We're going to go ahead and hear our other case and then deliberate at the end. You're welcome to stay till the end, see how this turns out.
Okay.
You'll call.
Yeah, I'll call somebody.
The second case today is special exception, number 508, submitted by Cove Creek Lodge LLC. They've applied for the special exception permit to allow live outdoor entertainment. Property is located at 19638 Garrett Highway, tax map 58, parcel 754, lot 1, grid 16, and is zoned town center as well. And I believe one of the managers are here to present that case.
Okay. Jeremy, do you swear and affirm that the testimony you're about to present to the Deep Creek Watershed Board of Zoning Appeals is the truth? If so, answer I do.
I do.
Name and address for the record.
Jeremy Bittner, 492 Lakeshore Drive, Copeland, Maryland.
And your relation to the case is?
So I am the director of hotels for Raleigh Vacations that manages the property on behalf of the homeowner.
Please proceed.
So we have a special request to have live music outside on the patio of the pool area at the new Cove Creek Lodge. This will be primarily for Friday evenings during check-in time when it's busy, and let our guests enjoy an exclusive area outside as long as weather permits. Sometimes on Saturdays, if we choose to, especially seasonally, to see how this goes. And we'd like to just have one solo artist that's a local person to play for a few hours, just at a low volume outside to enjoy for our guests. Sometimes it might be a duo, someone that might be a husband and wife or someone that we find. But this is just really exclusive for our guests to enjoy on some of our weekends. It's not all the time, but it would be at our discretion, especially during busier times, during summer weekends, maybe certain groups like weddings that might have a welcome party on Fridays as a large group. We might want to allow them to have some kind of entertainment that we provide like that. So really just outside, we do have neighboring rental homes. That is a concern that they do have access, but we have ideas to combat that with having staff on site. The music is always provided during times that our staff at either the front desk or the guest only bar is there, so we're able to control all of this and make sure that our guests are the ones there and that the noise is at a decibel that is acceptable. This is really just expected to be a very low, easy type of music. So.
Okay. Gentlemen, you have any questions for Mr. Brittinger?
I just have a question of Bruce. Were there any letters?
No, there was no correspondence.
Okay.
Okay.
Any questions?
Good.
Jeremy, just so that we have it all on record, specifically, hours of operation that you're proposing, to what I've heard, you've said no more than a duo. So we're not looking at any bands.
Correct.
And these are all things that we want to make sure that we've got on record that we have stipulated for you.
Sure, absolutely. Typically, we plan for this between the hours of 4 and 8. Usually like a 3-hour session, either 4 to 7, 5 to 8, 6 to 9 at the latest. That would be weather depending, and obviously for the light outside, we go lights. So that's why it's not exact, but that's our goal, is usually in the late afternoon, early evening. Like I said, 1 to 2 people. We don't want a huge band or anything, so really just one act, 1 or 2. There's a couple that does heart to heart. They're local that we've been talking to. So our rain plan is obviously inside, so that's not a problem. It's at a low event. But this could be year round, primarily outside during the next month.
And the only thing that prompted that was you'd mentioned wedding parties coming in.
Sure.
So I just wanted to make sure.
We do have a lot of wedding groups, like at other hotels, but this one we already, we have people asking, so they can congregate. But again, it would be us providing the music. It wouldn't be them. It would be who we typically use. Just since we have a crowd, it's nice to do that. And we do have signs made to keep the neighbors out. So we can get plenty of these, and we can put them on lots of posts and keep them out, so that we can control it much easier.
You've seen a list of some of the special conditions that we may impose on you, and it looked like you could work with all them.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
I'll assume there's nobody else here to speak in favor or against.
I'll speak in favor.
Okay, Karen, you're still sworn in.
Betsy and I were both privileged to be able to attend, like on their grand opening day, when we could tour around and see what they've done. I think they've done some beautiful work there, and low-key music. Sounds like it would never be later than 9 o'clock. Those are going to be on the longest days of the year, so we know when those are. Sounds like it would be a nice addition.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So at this time, we will close the public portion of our hearings and go into deliberation. You all are welcome to stay. So you guys want to talk about VR 842?
Sure. It just seems to me that the smallest house possible is being projected or proposed for that size lot. And Karen, of course, plenty of experience having done it before, designed that sort of stuff. And it seems to be satisfactory to the Ms. Jameson who showed up, so I don't have any questions.
I don't. I guess the only drawback I have is that we don't have plans, and I certainly understand that he doesn't want to get too far down the path until he finds out it can be approved.
Yeah.
But we're, for lack of a better phrase, just giving a blank check to say, okay, whatever you do here is fine. I would like to know, Karen referred to story and a half, and I don't know that we want to make any stipulations on it because that's not part of what the variance is being asked. Just my preference is to see some plans, but I understand the circumstances.
We'd always like to see plans and know what we're approving. I understand that.
The ordinance has
Height
restrictions on height restrictions. 50 feet and 35 from medium ground level to median roof height.
Right.
So there are controls there. It can't be more than 35 feet.
Average height.
So,
Right, yeah. I guess, and I'm totally aware of that, just within Harmony. Obviously, we've got the big structure next door with the condominiums, and we have Ms. Jameson's place that's a one-story cottage, and so to be in harmony with that is just, again, not a deciding factor, just something for future thought, but I'd love to see plans.
I tell you, as a builder, it's really hard to get, as Karen said, stairs and everything else in something narrower than 24 feet, and for her to do it in 23, I think just shows that she's trying to go for the minimum variance, and that's what one of the things we're tasked to look for. We're supposed to grant variances at the minimal to give them reasonable enjoyment. I personally have no problem with this variance application. And
She even stated what you just stated, when she realizes that the variance she's requesting should be as little as the least amount that she can get away with, and it sounds like it is.
Don't get me wrong from what I'm saying, guys, because I'm totally, Karen's got a history of doing this, and we've seen what she's done with smaller lots before, and I'm in agreement with you that I really don't have a problem with it. She's taking this into consideration.
I've been in the exact same position as that, and not smart enough to figure out how to do it in 23 feet. So, so at this point, then I would look for a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
If it's unanimous.
I'll go report to my brother.
Have a good day.
Thank you.
You
Thank
too.
you.
You bet, thanks.
I didn't need any help with mine.
So that's, yes, correct. Yeah.
Circle the wrong one, but I crossed it out and initial it. Okay.
Looks like you did one.
Okay, guys, that takes us to the special exception for the Cove Creek Lodge. Everybody's going. I mean, Bruce had that list of kind of standard conditions that we put on these type of things. Live music will be limited to from 12 noon until 10 p.m. 7 days a week, which is more than he wants. Speakers will be directed inward. Live music will be limited to the location outlined on the concept plan submitted with this application. I'm assuming we have a concept plan here. I know he showed us today. So yeah, he has kind of a concept plan right there. So he's already done that. Noise levels must be sampled on a weekly basis. Is that a self-policing thing? Is that what you do? That's what you do. A parking plan must be submitted if events are to take place, or events take parking spaces that are part of the approved parking plan. Somebody wrote NA on there, but I guess if he has,
I would say NA just because it's for guests only, so he's gotta have parking for his guests.
Yeah.
so, okay.
So it's not.
So that one doesn't
open public,
pertain.
Yeah.
All lighting must be directed inward and downward. That applies, right?
Mm-hmm.
He has an NA written there, but I think that applies. And then the last one is a fence or vegetative screening at property lines to adjoining neighbors. Somebody writes in place, but I mean, it's sporadic at best, right?
Yeah, I mean, there's foliage there.
Mm-hmm.
Certainly not restrictive enough if he's already got people walking over.
You can address that
Mm-hmm.
if that's,
A fence or vegetative screening at property line to the adjoining neighbors. Doesn't say it has to be restrictive. A fence by nature is probably restrictive.
Mhm.
Doesn't say it can't be have a gate. How you guys feel about that? I mean, personally, I feel like that's their problem. It's their liquor license and their special exception to protect, I would think. But I'm open to.
You know, I'm with you on that, Bruce.
Me
I mean,
too.
there's, you know,
I think Bill and Bruce, were pretty crystal clear with him today when we were out there, you know, as to what they strongly suggested he do. And now it's just up to him to take action.
as far as making it part of what I expect to be an approval, I'm not inclined to make it a mandatory thing to put the fence in there. I think I strongly believe that it's in his best interest to do so. I would do it.
If I were one of the owners, I'd do it, because there's a pool there, you know?
Yeah.
And,
The pool was fenced.
yeah, it was, but I mean, just, it's a low fence, so there wouldn't be any trouble accessing it from my perspective, from somebody outside.
yeah, the 4-foot fence that is there was part of their, the hotels, motels, UNO. That's IRC or IBC code in that case, because it's commercial, that the pool has to be protected by a 4-foot tall fence.
Well, this time I would look for a motion on this special exception.
I'll move to approve.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous again.
Standard conditions.
Standard conditions apply. Yes, sir. Thank you.
I don't, he didn't ask for anything more. We don't need to be making restrictive, holding him accountable to Friday, Saturday,
Right, well, it is,
part of his application.
right.
Bruce, any old business for us to address as a board?
No, sir.
Any new business?
Not at this time, no.
Looks like the next meeting will be September 19th, 2024 at 3 o'clock. If anybody has any other topics for discussion, I'd look for a motion to adjourn.
For a motion to adjourn?
Okay, second?
Yes.
All in favor? So moved. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you, sir.
Wait.